smoke up. In the session real loud, good gas, yeah, you know we about to roll it up. Bring the bottles to the session, big tab, go ahead and just live it up. Get lit one night, after that, we can go ahead.
How come you on mute, man?
Icon down there in the damn cellar. Get out the wine cellar.
What's going on?
Get
It's
out
your boy.
wine cellar, Icon.
And we here on 95 Podcast. Once again, I want to thank God for this opportunity or whatever. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want to introduce everybody tonight. This is a special show for us tonight because this is our Father's Day special. And I want to put this together because I feel like fathers don't get their flowers while they're alive. And we focus so much on deadbeat dads. We so much on and actually they're in their kids. I'm gonna start from my top to my bottom. I Steveo and everybody Steveo from sports from toe to toe. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Georgia, everything building. So I got him here. I got my man King Jacob, the great Mr. Versatile. There in the building. I got Patrick Solomon. He's the manager of Big V. They have a CBD store out in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So if you're ever out there, you need to go check them out. And then I got last but not least, I got Coach Kingcade. It's Kingcade. That's different. He's the first person I know named King. So I'm building. He's the founder of the JUCO program that he's established out in the Carolinas. And, you know, he's basketball and the football front out there. So if you're a JUCO player, if you got a kid in high school or you know, struggling to figure things out in college or high school, you need to get with this man and you can help you know, get your kid back on the right track and help them educational-wise and on the gridiron and on that basketball court. So I want to thank everybody for coming on. First and foremost, or secondly, next, basically what I wanted to talk about was how do y'all feel about the fact that Father's Day is one of those holidays that's probably thought about last when it comes to Thanksgiving, Christmas, Mother's Day, Easter, Valentine's Day. We're at the bottom of the totem pole. So I'm gonna start with Patrick. We're gonna go around the other way. So I'm gonna start with Patrick first, and then we're gonna go from there. So tell me how you feel about the way Father's Day is treated for us men.
Well, I think like at least from where I come from in the African American community where I'm at, I was raised in the projects, and in the projects there's no dads allowed. So you weren't around a dad. You were around moms, but there were really no dads. I think there was one stepdad that somehow way got into our projects, and then there was an uncle, but everybody else was female. So you really didn't think about Father's Day because, I mean, to be honest, a lot of us didn't know who our father was too.
Wait on me.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
yeah, go ahead, kid.
I think I'm on the flip side of that. I grew up in a 2-parent home, born with a silver spoon in my mouth, so I was spoiled. In all actuality, I saw a different side just because a lot of people don't know this, but I was adopted.
Me too.
So, and I was brought into an older family, which they showed me a lot of love, and Unfortunately, my father died when I was 13. My mother died when I was 17. So I lost them at a very young age. And I had to get out there and kind of learn on my own how to be a man, what it was like, and so long story short, I do feel like we take second place when it comes to holidays, because I mean, even with even with the gifts, man, we get the ties, the and the cologne, and we get the bad end of the stick, actually. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But like I said, I see it from a different perspective. But at the same time, it all revolves back to what Patrick was saying, So I just brought it from a different perspective.
Well, just to kind of add to that too, I think the other thing is, as men, we're taught that we're not supposed to have that expectation either. That we suck it up, everything's okay, we're fine, so we accept whatever comes, and we're supposed to be okay with that. So that's the other part of that. That mom is supposed to be giving everything. Your children, even on Christmas, if you supposed to be giving everything, but dads, well, we're just happy to be here, and that's good enough for us.
Like when you label the provider, it's like what do you get the guy that got everything? You know what I mean? Essentially, that's how I should look at it. You know what I mean? What gift can someone buy me that I can't go buy myself throughout the year? So I guess it's more of the pedestal that we put the dads on or the moms on versus the dads. Like I kind of said, most of the time you see moms, man, they going all out. We going to somebody's nice restaurant. When it comes to dads, it's usually a cookout or somebody, get you a nice meal that mom gonna cook whatever you like. But I think again, it just boils back down to the man being the provider. Should be the provider. What can you get someone that has everything? But being a father myself in a two-parent household, I raised in a two-parent household most of my life. I was raised by my grandparents for the early portion of my life till I was like 9 years old. So again, nobody ever really brought my granddad a big gift. You know what I mean? So I always had the expectation that the man was just supposed to, get the ties, the cologne, the dinner, the meals, and that was just the expectation that was just set to me at a young age. And my granddad just rolled with the punches. I never heard him complain or say anything about it. So it's just to be expected. With my grandmother, he bought new cars and she get flowers at the job, all kind of extravagant stuff he had to go all out the way to do. But I think it's just an expectation, man, from a male and king of the jungle, king of my household, king of my castle. I would like to see a little bit more emphasis on Father's Day, especially for the ones that are there and doing it day in and day out, because it is not tough. You know what I mean? We do make it look easy sometimes, but you have a lot of times where no one asks the man like how he's doing. Everybody's worried about the kids or the children or the wife, and we kind of come last in a lot of situations. But what can you do? That's how I kind of look at it, right? What can you do? As long as everybody else is happy, generally we're supposed to be happy. So, what you got, Jay? You on mute? Can't hear you, my boy. Dallas Cowboy fan.
You got anything?
Get to him.
Okay. Why don't do that? Cause I come to do that. But raised in a household and watching my father be that hand, grooming other people's kids as well, and when we look at the list of holidays and holiday number 27, like. So has society set this up in a way where the fathers are really not valued, or is the father just they just a father? And so sometimes I think that a lot of the men that's there are not publicized or overlooked. I mean, because you can see throughout social media, they always talk about the deadbeat, or they always talk about this, that, and the third, and we just there, and like you said, Steve, they don't have any high expectation for us, so we get the ties and whatnot, the ties and the bow ties, and the cologne, the wife ain't going out and buy the father no car. That's for sure. So, but man, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. Nah, that's real. Nah, that's real, and that's kind of where we at. But I kind of look at it from a woman's perspective. I try to look at it from their perspective. It's a lot more deadbeats than a lot more guys doing it the right way. You know what I mean? I hate to say it that way. Even with my generation, I'm 35 years old. I have cousins, man, that aren't in their kids' life and aren't present in their kids' life, but they on social media. And, you know what I mean? You see them out and they doing things. So it's two sides to it. You know what I mean? Yeah, we want to say the women don't praise them enough. Yeah, we want to say the women may not go all out for them enough, but it's also a side of that where it's not enough of us doing what we're supposed to do by these kids too. You know what I mean? It's more of us not doing what we're supposed to do by all of our kids than it is us that are doing it. So it's two sides to it, man. I'm always a devil's advocate, Jay. You know that, man.
Yeah, I know.
I play the devil's advocate. I play both sides because you got to look at it that way too. But the ones who are there, they definitely should be celebrated a lot.
We'll see. That's the thing, though. That's the thing, Steve-O. We not focusing on the deadbeats today.
Yeah.
We focusing on the men that do right, and if they don't get flowers, the men, the little boys that don't do right by their kids, we not worried about them this weekend. This weekend is about giving the flowers to the men that actually do right in their kids' life. And it's something I told Jacob earlier today. I said the thing about it is I commend people like himself, who's an uncle daddy, who men who have step kids, because it takes a real man. It takes a different type of man to want to take on other people's kids too. So I get those type of deals too. And I know, I'm a stepdad, even though of course, I'm a dad, but he not, my first son wasn't my biological, but I took on that responsibility when I took on, when I taught. And so I also got to commend those men, and I look at people like I said, like Jacob, I look at a Ricky Smiley, if you know kids, people he wasn't even related to, he took on their responsibilities when they fathers things of that nature. So that's what I'm focused on this weekend is this wild whatever. And I seen something the other day where on Facebook where somebody said, Dad, I need this, I need that, and the dad I'll figure out. And that's the one thing about real dad. We may get upset, may complain, maybe get on our kids' butt for something, but we always come clutch. When
all right, son, you chopping up real bad.
You know what I'm saying? Got to do if we got to work 3 or 4 days. We got that. You know what I'm saying? What you say now?
You chopping up real bad. You got to get out that wine cellar over there. You chopping up real bad. You got to get off over there. Good God Almighty, bro. You chopping up bad, bro. For real. All right. And every time I cut my camera on, my junk started freezing. So, but yeah, no. I wasn't trying to take the focus off of the guys that do right, man. Trust me. I know so many guys that are doing right who, like you said, deserve to be celebrated. But at the same time, do I want my wife going out and Jacob, you know me. My wife ain't finna buy me the kind of car I'm gonna go buy myself. She ain't gonna go buy what I want to drive. So do I want my wife going out and buying me a car? No, not really. You know what I mean?
Nah,
but I understand.
Because you might trade in the next day and then you're gonna get trouble.
You know what I'm saying? Gonna be an issue. You know it's gonna be a problem.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So No, I totally agree with Icon saying though. We definitely got to start celebrating the ones that deserve it. And what kind of ways would you fellas look at like I said, I don't want my wife going to buy my car, but what kind of ways would you look at Jacob or Coach Solomon or Coach Kingcade? How would you guys look at wanting to be celebrated in a different way outside of the tradition?
I mean, just appreciation in itself, just everybody gather, and come over and be like, man, we coming to celebrate you today. Just like how we do, the mothers,
Yeah.
And then, I'm gonna tell you something else. There's another population out there that we tend to forget. The fathers that want to be fathers, but the mothers won't let them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's funny because I just got off the phone with a homeboy of mine that I ain't talked to in years, and he kind of was going through that situation, saying that he's tried everything, but because she mad at him, she holding the kid hostage.
Mm-hmm.
He send his money. He's not on child support because he send money every week,
Yeah.
and all he asks is, can he come stay with me? And so those fathers out there that wanna be a father, but they can't, So I want to give shouts out to those guys too,
Right. And I see all the time that, females do trips. And so, I feel like, I was telling a lot of some of my homeboys, I said, bro, a lot of the homeboys that I grew up with are just a couple years older than me, man. They done left this world. I said, man, we don't never do nothing together, man. I said, these women get out together and celebrate each other. I said, man, rather than we wanted somebody else to celebrate us, but we got to celebrate us too. You know what I mean? And so, it's nothing wrong with doing, a fellas united get together. Cause you got some people who I grew up with that I ain't seen in 20 years, man. And I'm talking about we was tight in school. So I was just telling my homeboy, man. I said you the OG, cause you like 5-6 years older than me. I said, man, you gotta put something together. If not, I'll take the lead because people are leaving this world quickly and fast every day, man. And so, we definitely gotta celebrate us. And and for for those men that go through that, like I tell my homeboy, I said, a child is a child, but a child ain't gonna be a child always. So when they got those questions for the mom and the mom can't answer, it's gonna cut them like a knife because then that child forms their own opinion on why they did it one in their life and it wasn't their dad's fault. And most mothers are not gonna be able to take that, especially when the father was trying to do right. So but I say let's celebrate us, man.
Yeah, man.
Let's always
Keep them receipts.
celebrate us.
Keep them receipts. That's all I say. Keep them receipts. You can always show your child, man. I call your mama 32 times today. I call your mama 100 times over the weekend on your birthday. She ain't let me talk to you. Keep your receipts, man. Young men, especially young men, when they grow up and they start dealing with women and females themselves, they'll understand a little bit more sometimes when it comes to their mother and how their mom really was or how they was, how women are. So, women can be real vindictive sometimes, man. So keep them receipts. Anybody out there fighting their struggle, man, keep them receipts. Keep that evidence, man. I tried to call you. I sent letters. I got receipts from UPS to show the letters I sent. And whatever you got to do, just keep your receipts, man, and you'll be able to show your child one day, who their mother really was.
That's right. And I just want to ask this question to Patrick and Kingcade, and Icon Youth, because you used to be a youth counselor as well. Now, from a mental health and an emotional health standpoint of view, how does this affect young men and young women when they find this out that their father was not allowed to see them, but he always tried to be there? What is the after effect of them finding out once all that time was missed with the father not being in their life because the mother wouldn't allow it?
Usually anger. Anger at the mother at that point, because here you are, you've told me that dad wasn't this and dad wasn't that and blah blah blah, and to find out that that was all a lie, that
Hmm.
you were mad because he might have been a better father than he was a husband or a boyfriend or whatever, and you took that away from that child. So usually there's anger. There's problem with identity too that comes with that, because they're like that whole other side of them that they don't know. And if
Mm-hmm.
there's other siblings they come encountered with that are doing better than them for whatever reason, it's because they had that lack of identity on that side.
That's huge too. Identity, man. Knowing who you are, knowing where your people come from, knowing your people's people. Especially you live in a small city, man. You end up talking to your cousin because you don't know your dad's side of the family. You know what I mean? I got cousins who had kids with cousins because of that. Because the men in my family weren't doing right, and over here and over there on that side of town. And now two cousins have, made a situation because nobody knew, granddaddy was over there around the corner. So yeah, the identity, man, that's huge. Knowing who you are, knowing where you come from, that's huge. That's huge. I agree as well.
So, Brother Solomon, how hard is that with you being a mental
Yeah,
health
go ahead,
counselor?
Pebbles. What you gotta say?
So what?
Uh, brother Patrick, how hard is that with you being, with your profession being in mental health and you being a mental health counselor? How hard is that to break the cycle so it doesn't affect the child over when they have kids, so it doesn't spill over? Because it's kind of important for them to go through that healing, and as well as you, Coach Kincaid, because you're a football coach and a director of a junior collegiate program, and so you become a mental health counselor, a pastor, a best friend, a father as well. So Patrick, how does that healing process go, or do they ever heal?
Yeah, they heal. I mean, you learn to move forward. You have to, there's a concept called radical acceptance. It is what it is, and you hope you finally get them to that point. And then, like Coach Kingcade, I'm an adopted kid. Uh, Only I was adopted into a single parent home that wound up in the projects. But what I learned from my biologicals not being there was I was going to be there. So what you tell these kids a lot of times is, look, you can learn from your parents' mistakes as well as what they did right. If
Mm-hmm.
what your mom did wrong was keep you and deny you away from your dad, make sure you don't make those same mistakes. If you're a young female, and if you're a young male, make sure that you find a way to be there for your kids. You know, be selective in who you create life with, because if it's a
Yes,
trifling person
sir.
to start, then they probably gonna do trifling things like keep you away from their kids when they don't get their way. That's not being mean. That's just being truthful. You
Yes,
have to
sir.
be careful where you leave your DNA deposits.
Yes,
Uh,
sir. That's one of the most important decisions you ever make in your life. Who you
yeah,
procreate with. Yes, sir. Ooh.
Mm.
you know,
So
but just help them through that process of understanding lack of that relationship is almost like a death, so to speak. They're going to grieve that lack of that relationship, but you do get to move forward. And in this case, though, there's a resurrection if that father's still alive, and you can actually have a relationship with him. And you just grow from there.
okay, and so Coach Kincaid, with you being
Mm-hmm. Can
a
y'all hear
football
him?
program and being a coach, yeah, we can hear you. And with you being a football coach and these kids come to you with these family issues, these personal problems, and sometimes it's the emotional health is more damaged than the mental health. From your standpoint of view, man, how do you deal with that?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, man. Once again, I'm gonna agree with Patrick on some do heal, but I'm gonna tell you some don't. The ones that do heal had the right mechanisms, had the right people in their lives and everything to help them get through, and just also going through counseling. But some of the kids that I deal with, that I've seen, they heal the wrong way, and that's just as detrimental because they go through life thinking about things or kind of fabricating the way they thought it was supposed to be, in which, you know, basically their perception was completely off. They were all wrong. I got a kid that told me his mom told him his dad was dead.
Wow.
Alive and well. And he found out at a football game that his dad wasn't dead. He walked up to him and said, "Hey, man," you know, and started talking to him. And at the end of the game, because he didn't want to break it to him then, but at the end of the game, he told him, "I'm your daddy."
Wow. Jesus Christ.
Now, that boy got all messed up. It was nothing you could really say. At that moment, all he could do was, the first thing he thought about was getting on the phone and cussing his mom out.
Mm-hmm.
How could you lie to me all these years? How could you tell me that? You know, so there's two sides to every story, man. And sometimes it has a happy ending, and sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you, all I could do was just talk to him and console him and say, "Look, even though she lied, there must have been a good reason for her. You know, it could have been protecting you from something. So don't jump off the deep end just yet until you hear what your mom got to say." You know, I just kept trying to.
Yeah, he'll never understand though, Coach. Unfortunately, until he go through life himself, and he have something happen to him. You know what I mean? He'll never understand until he has to go through life and say, "Well, I can understand what my mama had to do." Him being in a situation where he has to do what he has to do. I did want to comment on. Go ahead, Icon. My fault.
No, I was gonna say this. I was gonna jump on what King Kane said, because to be honest with you, I went through the exact same thing as that young man. When I was a kid, and I told Jacob the story before, that me and my friends, I grew up in the neighborhood with probably one of my friends out of all my friends had a dad in their life. And we used to go around saying that our dad, we either didn't acknowledge him, or I used to say my dad was dead. And my dad stayed literally 10 minutes from me. But he would never come around. And I'm going to give y'all this quick story. So when I was probably about 15, I played for the rec basketball team. And my dad was the referee. He wouldn't even acknowledge me at the games. And he was refereeing my games. And so it was one particular game where he called a foul on one of my teammates. And I was running up down the court, literally beside him, cussing him out on why he called a foul on my teammate. And my mom was sitting in the stands. And my mom, you know, she old school. Normally my mom would have said, you know, I would have whooped your ass when we got home, but I understand why you did what you did. Because I was at that point, I was at my wit's end. I was frustrated. I had enough. And I think it just all came out at that moment on the basketball court. And my dad didn't even say nothing. He just kept walking away. And the other referee, he was looking like, what's going on right now? But he was just looking. I don't even know if the other guy knew that it was my dad. He just seen me cussing this man out, but he just kind of stand off to the side like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So I understand exactly what, and it took me to, I'm going to tell you what happened. So when I got married at the time, we was at my sister's wedding, at the wedding dinner, the pre-wedding dinner. My dad got up and apologized. This was that time, I'm like 23 at the time. My dad gets up, he apologizes to me and my sister in front of the whole wedding party. And everybody, wasn't a dry eye in the house. And I remember from that day, I forgave my dad that day. And he was the greatest granddad in the world. My kids Like our dad, we don't know what you talking about because he was a granddad to us, and he was the greatest granddad in the world because of that. So I know I understand exactly what that young man was going through.
And so from this perspective, Icon, and we was talking about, since Patrick is a mental health counselor to this date, and you used to be a youth counselor, man, what type of stories did you have coming in there from the emotional health on that standpoint, and how did you deal with these kids, man, that was coming from these broken homes that didn't know their father, or they felt like their mother mistreated them because they looked like they dead, and that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because in those situations, you coming in almost like a father figure to them in certain, especially when you develop a relationship with them, and they look forward to seeing you, especially the men, especially the young boys. They look forward to come to seeing you or whatever. And then a lot of times, and I know Pat can attest to this. We've not only become counselors, we become like the big brother. How you had the big brother program where you take them to the park, or you take them and you talking to them to get them some ice
Yeah.
cream or something to eat. So you come like a big brother to them or whatever. And then a lot of times what happens is some of the kids, especially when they become teenagers, they rebel on their mom and they hate their mom. Oh, you ran dad off and this, that, and the third. And a lot of times they become the man of the house. You know what I mean? And when they think they're the man of the house, they think they can run the house and do whatever they want, but they don't realize they're still a kid. You know what I'm saying? So those things happen in those cases too.
But I've heard so many women tell their 13, 14-year-old son that they are the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they want them to listen to them, they want them to revert back to being the child. And it doesn't work that way. If you're putting this responsibility on his shoulders and telling him he has to do this, do that, he wants all that comes with that. You can't be an adult right now. Now go back to being a kid. I see that a lot too. And one thing Coach Kingcade was talking about that I saw was a situation where I know of a guy who the dad wanted to be in the kid's life, but he didn't want to disrupt the kid's life because there was someone else. He was dad, and I don't think the other person knew. So the guy said he would tell him every day. He would always give him money and stuff because he lived around the corner from him, and always ask him, "Did your mama tell you anything?" And he'd be like, "Tell me what?" He said, "That's okay." And he said it went on for years until he finally realized, I look like this man. I don't look like the man supposed to be my dad at all. And of course, that guy was his father, and he wanted to be in his life. But like when I was saying about I think Steve-O was saying about some of the complications that come is sometimes mama was with the man that you might thought was dad, but you're not the product of that. The young lady that was on here earlier, I saw her message down to the bottom, was kind of talking about that same thing. She found out that her
I'll bring it back up.
Her dad was actually her stepdad. And unfortunately, I actually know situations where the person, when they found out about the person they thought was dad wasn't dad, they're told another name, and that wound up not being dad either. Mm-hmm. So now that kid really struggles with that identity issue.
Right. Mm-hmm. I actually have some kids right now that is in one of my student housing apartments that parents pretty much just I don't know, kind of kicked them to the curb, don't really have a home to go to. And I heard my wife in the background, she was just saying that a lot of them call me dad, the pops.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm a father figure to a lot of these kids. And, it got to a certain point where I felt obligated that I had to keep, because I usually, make these kids pay their rent. But it got to a point where they didn't have no jobs. They didn't have nowhere to go. I felt obligated to pay the rent and try to help these boys out. And they're kind of fixing their relationship now. And that's where they're at now. So my apartment is kind of vacant at the moment. But just to kind of just spin off of what Jacob was saying, I'm a little bit of everything, man.
Yeah. I seen it firsthand when I was there. Yeah, you are.
So, these kids come from single. You know what? I'm probably going to touch a nerve when I say this, but I really need to bring this up. And I've gotten into some heated discussions with women about what I'm about to say. But you, and no offense to anybody in the audience, I got to put that disclaimer out there to all the women, okay? But
Talk about it.
you can't teach a man how to be a man. A man can only teach a man how to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
That's facts.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
I agree with that.
Now I hear a whole lot of women saying, well, I raise my children and I teach them everything they need to know. Okay, you teach them everything they need to know from a woman's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't teach them how to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
Only a man can teach. And I have to put this out there. Only a good man
There you go.
can teach them. You know, a lot of men kind of teach the wrong things to these kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You know, especially giving them that street knowledge, teaching them how to, you know, I mean, some of these kids are in positions where I'm gonna have to be honest. If they didn't have that street knowledge, they probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta learn how to survive in them streets if you in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Hey, you
but-
know, hey, you know something? The thing about it is as men, we do our kids a disservice by having kids too young, because we kids trying to raise kids. And I know when I first started having kids, I had no clue on how to raise my sons because I was still a kid in my mind. I was still doing kiddie stuff, and I didn't have a father figure. The father figures I had were the men in my life. All I knew they did was work. And that's what I felt like. If I provided for the house, I could do whatever hell I wanted. I could run around in these streets. I can do whatever I wanted. I didn't understand how to be a father or be a husband, for that matter, until I got 10 years into it, till I started maturing. Then I started understanding, oh, this is what fatherhood really looks like. Or what I didn't understand it before that, because nobody taught me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. And so with that being said, man, the healing process with these kids, man, and you know, cause I hear Patrick tell me all the time. He said, man, you know, I'm only blind with a client, or I'm trying to, get this mother to understand, you know, what the kid is trying to tell them, and not come down on them so hard. And you know, because I know we grew up with a lot of tough love. That was normal. You know what I mean? But man, you can't do that tough love with these children, I mean. These children have anxiety, they have depression, and the number one thing that'll cause them to have anxiety, depression, if you tell them no. If you done gave them something their whole life and times get hard and you gotta put this back for this, and you tell them no, man, they're like you done slick they throat or something, man. For real, for real. So man, you know, when I grew up, when my daddy said no, it seemed like he said no, the door said no, the wall said no, and the dogs outside barked no.
I mean,
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, man.
What do they call us? I mean, they got the different generations. You got the Generation X and
the millennials.
The millennials and what do we call? We're Generation X, right?
Well, I'm older than you guys. I'm in between X
Baby boomers.
Yeah, I'm right in between.
Okay.
But the thing is, they can teach them to accept no, but you got to start with it consistently from the start. It kind of goes back to some of our conversation, and both Coach Kingcade was saying earlier. When you have the mom who's trying to do it, and unless she's a real strong-willed mother, she's going to give in and give the kid what he wants because she don't want to see the kid hurt, don't want to see the kid do that, and she's not realizing she's creating a monster, because that becomes the expectation that everybody's going to pacify them. Like I tell clients when they come into me from the start, I said, look, if you're looking for that therapist, it's gonna be like, now Johnny, why did you do that? I said, I'm not your man. I said, I'm allowed to look at your kid and say, what the hell were you thinking? Boy, you know such and such and such. Because that's real life. Because if you pacify this kid too much, and then this kid turns 18 and think everybody's gonna pacify him in the course and stuff like that, it's a sad ending. So, so smart moms, and again, not being disrespectful, because I was raised by a single mom, but I also was put in church with a reverend that looked after me, a deacon that looked after me, and I had some great coaches that taught me things about life.
I do think you have to be able to be a little bit more understanding, but at the same time, like Coach said, be consistent with what you're saying. I can't. I want my children to have a better life than I did. I want to give my children everything in life that I didn't get to have, everything that they want. That's why I work so hard to provide my kids a better life than I had. Does that, to me, sometimes cripple them because I feel like they ain't gonna have the struggles that I had to go through? But at the same time, I don't want them to struggle like I had to struggle. You know what I mean? I don't want them to have to write bad checks to get through to payday. I don't want them to have to deal with all that. I want to be in a position where I can take care of them if they need it. But at the same time, whether you draw that fine line of, I don't want to cripple you and make it where you can't go get it on your own. But at the same time, I don't want you out here struggling to have to go left and right hand deals like I did to make it. So you got to just find a gray area and a way to make them earn it and appreciate it. So that way they don't look at it as something that's supposed to happen.
Well, Steve, this is what I would say. What I would say about that is based on if you do something to help your child and they continue to make the same mistake over and over because they know you're gonna catch the rope, you're gonna catch them. So after you maybe the first couple of times, if you see them keep doing it, then it's like, okay, you know what, I gotta cut this off because this is the third time you done made the same mistake or something similar. So obviously you're not learning your lesson.
Well, you know, as them old folks said, man, them chaps need their ass beat. I'm just saying, man. Like,
true, man. You gotta get away from the violence, though, man. That's just my thing. Because you're gonna create. Okay, now popping a 5-year-old or disciplining a 5 to 7, 10-year-old. Okay, cool. But when you get to a 13 to 14-year-old, you need to teach that person how to reason, bro. You can't teach them every time you get upset or you get the right to go upside their head. That ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna work. You better teach them how to reason. You gotta teach them how to use.
So what do you feel about the way these kids are now? I mean, since we're talking about this new generation right here, I mean, these kids is wilding out doing things that I would never have dreamed of. I mean, they fighting teachers now.
Yeah.
That starts at home, though, Coach. To me,
exactly.
That started at home. That started at home. That started because they see you arguing with your sisters and your brother, and they go upside each other's head. So now they feel like any type of discrepancy that they have, get what? I can go upside this person's head because I see it at home. I don't know how to talk and reason. I don't know how to use my words because all I see is violence. Every time I do something wrong, my mama come and hit me upside my head. So when I feel like they teach wrong in me, get what I'm finna do, Coach. That's all I know. I ain't seen nothing else.
Well, see,
I don't know how to reason. We got to have a reason somewhere, man. We got to be able to talk to each other.
Steve, no discipline in these households nowadays, bro. No discipline at all, bro. Kids do what they want to do, how they want, and why they want.
Yeah. I mean, because you got to understand, all of us are probably generation where we got our butt whipped. But I never thought about going to hit my teacher. So that can't be the total reason behind. A lot of it is there's a sense of entitlement. Actually, some of the violence that you see in the homes that I get to see is the kid beating mama up. I remember one of my first clients I got when I went to private practice, and the kid had beat his mama up, and I'm like.
So at what age does that flip, though, Coach? What age does that happen?
He was 13. He was a 7th grader.
Yeah.
I remember that well. He beat her up, and I said, he slept in the house last night. And she said, yeah. I said, you let him sleep peacefully. That was
exactly. See what I'm saying? See, first time he did that, she should have snapped on him. That's my opinion. Yeah. Now you got to correct it from the jump. You let this thing keep building up, you're gonna get to that point.
Oh yeah.
But let
Because think about with boys. When boys get bigger than their mama, like size wise, then that's when they're gonna try their mama. So when they get about 13, 14, they get a little size on them, whatever, then you know what I'm saying? Because I remember like even like my grandmother, and I told Jacob this story a few times, and he always laughed when I tell him the story. My grandmother didn't play the radio. So she told my uncle one time, go outside and cut the grass. His dad was out of town. He was 16, he said, I ain't gonna do nothing. My grandma went in the bedroom, got the shotgun, cocked it one time and said, you ain't gonna do what? And that's the last time he ever disrespected his mom.
Exactly. She nipped it in the bud from the jump.
Yeah.
So it gotta be on that level. But I would just say that the thing about it is that another thing that I don't like is I don't know if y'all ever been around. I hate to say I don't want to say hood women, but you ever been around them women who, or even like they cuss at their kids every two words.
I hate that.
Go to your effing room. And it's like if you talking to your child with that much vanity and anger, what you think they're gonna be when they get 15, 16 years old? How you talking to them. You can get your point across to your child without using F-bombs every 2 years.
Yep, I agree.
And then don't get upset when someone is trying to rightfully discipline your child or teach your child things. You know, I coach Pee Wee League football and basketball, football and stuff like that. And you get parents that get upset and think my kid didn't get to play, so my kid blah blah blah. I'm like, your kid had bad grades, and I told you I didn't care about what the league says. If you ain't got your grades, you're sitting on the bench, and I give you back your money and you keep the T-shirt.
I'm telling you, yep. Take your kid with you.
They don't want the teachers to tell the kid anything, whatever, but they don't mind letting social media raise the kids. And some of these cartoons, and every cartoon out there ain't a kid's cartoon. And I ain't just talking about like American Dad, Family Guy. Some of these things that are supposed to be really kiddie, when you sit back and listen to it, it teaches defiance, manipulation, and everything else. Even self-mutilation. That was the one cartoon that the kid Jeffrey in it. He punches himself in his genitalia.
Yeah, man. You got to watch it, what your kids watching. You got to watch it with them to see what they watching. I agree with that. And keep them off YouTube. YouTube definitely is though. I'm just telling you.
But like you said, and teach them how to use words, like how to voice their feelings. Because another thing of it is, as a man, we're not supposed to have feelings.
Yep.
You can get hurt. Like I always tell my clients, my male clients, that men, we're allowed to have two feelings. We can be happy and we can be mad. I said, we don't know what melancholy is, blue or somber. I said, we know happy and mad. So if anything doesn't make us happy, we lash out because it's okay if we're mad. Nobody questions us on that.
Yeah.
So teaching, like you said, how to communicate.
I've heard females tell in a heated argument, tell a dude, it's rather be pissed off than deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably want to leave that female alone, my boy.
Yeah. They just say you're supposed to suck up and go. Don't worry about it. If your feelings, you have feelings, you're supposed to be made of brick, stone, whatever, man.
All she care about is your money. Leave her. All she care about is your money. Leave her, brother. She's no good for you, fellas. Leave her.
Hey, I'm gonna say this before we get off of here. But I think that's why men we cry more when we get older, and we don't know why we crying. But we held it in through our 20s and 30s.
Yeah,
40, 50,
true.
all that. We can sit there watching a movie. It got nothing to do with us. We watching the movie. We go to crying. Why am I crying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what that means about older man crying. Or the older guy and really.
Icon, we got to get you. Icon, listen, you got to do something about this internet. Lord have mercy. That's all we hear.
My iPhone at this point.
How you in Atlanta, Georgia, and you got Wi-Fi that terrible? What?
Hey, what's going on?
How are you Black Hollywood and you Wi-Fi?
Hey,
I don't know what's going on, man. It was fun.
I'd like to address something that Miss Pebbles, and I agree, Miss Pebbles, she said some young men don't have role models in the home, and the community is not the same to where there's enough men out there in the neighborhood to actually guide them. Oh my God, you hit that right on the head, because I'm getting ready to do Jake, I'm getting ready to do another community meet and greet, but this time I'm assembling pastors and I'm calling them out. I'm getting pastors and churches within a 2-hour radius, and I'm like, you out here preaching and you saying that you want to help the community, or you out here in the community. Okay, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, because we got a lot of boys. See, I don't just have one program. I got multiple programs that need mentors, that need the word of God in their ears, that need the different perspectives to help lead them and guide them down the right roads. And if they make the wrong turn, let's make them let's get them back on the right road. You're right. There are not enough of us out there, but I'm really trying to do my part in the process. So, thank you for that, Ms. Pebbles.
I agree with Coach, man. And the other thing we gotta realize is you don't have to be a pastor to impact these youth, though. One thing I decided when my kids were growing up, we were gonna be the neighborhood house, because then I know what was going on in the house. You know what I mean? And like I would have some of the kids, the male kids from our neighborhood, that would get mad at their mom, come to our house. They'd be like, "Is Ryan or Brandon?" I'm like, "No, blah blah blah." Well, can I just come in, Mr. Solomon? And they will come in and go back to my son's room and lay down. And the mama will call, "Is Tony there?" "Yes, ma'am, he's here." "Okay, I know he's okay then." Because he didn't. I have a lot of kids that even some of them that had fathers and stepfathers there, the fathers wasn't invested in them. And I realized, like I said, what made a change for my life was the people who were invested in me, the men that were invested in me, my wrestling coach, my track coach, football coach.
What weight class you wrestle, Coach?
112.
Oh, you a little guy.
Yeah, well, I was. But those people spoke into my life. I remember I was going to quit wrestling so I could get a job, and my wrestling coach pulled me aside. He said, "Son, I'm pretty much going to guarantee you, from the moment you leave this high school, you're going to work the rest of your life. You only have this time to do this.
That's crazy.
And if you start quitting things now," he said, "look around you. People who start quitting, they quit throughout their life, and never been so much of a true statement."
Yep.
So I tried the knowledge I got from people like a Coach Kingcade and stuff. I tried to instill that knowledge in young men that come around me, whether it be my clients or like the kids was in my neighborhood. I would take kids, and like if they were terrible at basketball, I'd make them a team. And we'd go out and hack people to death or whatever. But we would go out and I would take them other places and let them see other things other than just our neighborhood. Because that was another thing that opened up for me through sports, was I saw something other than my neighborhood. I didn't know we had a castle in Kentucky outside of Lexington, but because I went to state in a couple of sports, I'm like, "What's that?" Those opportunities. And that's something that even if you don't have any children right now yourself, there's a young man that's gone through life or whatever and took some of the lessons of life that you can start instilling to these other kids, because they're your kids too. Because the best thing to do to help your own biological kids is making sure the kids around them are straight.
Yep.
Because, we all at that point in life where we listen to that our brother on the corner quicker than we will our father in the house. So if you got them on the same page, and you take them under your wing and do things with them and put them in good places for themselves, that helps your children too.
Well, fellas, I want to thank y'all for coming on tonight. Really meant a lot for me to do this. I've been thinking about this for a minute. I think I told y'all about this a few months ago that I wanted to do this, and I just want to commend all the fathers out there across the world, across the country, that's doing the right thing by their kids and trying to make an impact in these young men's life. So I salute all of y'all out there. Y'all keep y'all heads up, stay strong, and keep doing what you gotta do no matter what. Happy Father's Day. I hope everybody enjoy their Father's Day. Don't eat too much, don't drink too much, but at the same time, enjoy yourself.
But, happy Father's Day, man. Hey, man, live it up.
Don't fix no plates. Make sure they fix your plate. Don't fix no plate. Don't fix your own plate.
Don't do nothing. You sit
Icon, you gonna get you. I tell you what you asked for, Icon. You know what you better ask for? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right, so don't be.
All right.
Got the good vibe, got the 1942 pouring in my cup. In the session, real loud, good gas, yeah, you know we about to